This is the Capitol Rundown.
We're in a strong fiscal position. We built this budget utilizing resources based on what we believe are sustainable.
The key word in your lead in there, Jorma, is propose.
I get to run and say what I want and how I feel and see if the voters of Michigan, feel the same way I do.
It's all straight ahead. The Capitol Rundown starts now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Siobhan Klepfer. The big news in Lansing this past week was Big Gretch unveiling her big budget. The governor says her $80 billion proposed budget is a roadmap for making it in Michigan, with a big focus on education, the economy, and equity for residents of the Great Lakes state. Our Capitol correspondent Tim Skubic watched the governor and her staff present the budget and walks us through what's in it.
When the governor writes a new state budget, it's a lot like you going to the grocery store, where you pick and choose between what you like and what you don't like and what you can afford. What the governor had on her budget shopping list presented to the full House of lobbyists and lawmakers included more money for education, a 2.5% increase, or $9,849 for every school kid in the state, including free lunch and breakfast programs. On the list is also more money for higher ed, a 2.5% increase costing $42 million plus. More money for cities, a 5% boost, $28 million more. And more money to fix the roads and bridges, including $700 million in bonds to do it. And there's more money to keep people safe.
Right now, there are some Michiganders who feel unsafe in their communities. In this budget, we will help local and county governments hire, train, and retain more police officers, firefighters, and EMS. We'll graduate another class of MSP troopers and better secure our capital.
And when the governor got to the checkout counter, her shopping list cost $80.7 billion. And just in case the state's economy goes south, she has a $2.2 billion state rainy day fund just in case. In a briefing afterwards, the governor says there are no tax hikes to pay for this budget, and there is no funny money. That is money that won't materialize. And guess what about her shopping list this year?
This budget actually is smaller than last year's budget, about $500 million less in general fund. We're in a strong fiscal position. We built this budget utilizing resources based on what we believe are sustainable.
Now the lawmakers will decide if some of the items on that governor's list should be put back on the shelf.
Tim Skubic, thank you. Other items included in the governor's proposed budget include $500 million for the Strategic Outreach Attraction Reserve to bring new businesses to the state, $193 million to build new behavioral health clinics, and $38 million for a new family tax credit. Of course, not everyone is happy about the way the governor wants to spend the state's money. And at least temporarily, there's that little matter of a tie in the Michigan House of Representatives, which will need to approve the budget. So anchor Jorma Duran talked to Tim to dig a little deeper into the budget and the response to it.
It's time to get updated politically here in the state of Michigan, and nobody better than this guy right here, Tim Skubic, to help us out. Tim, as we saw, Governor Whitmer released her proposed budget for the 2025 fiscal year. What's been the Republican reaction on it?
The key word in your lead in there, Jorma, is propose. Governors are not dictators, although some try to be at some points in time. But governors can only put on the table what they think should be done about writing the state budget and, more importantly, where your tax dollars will go. As to your question of what the Republicans will do, first of all, they are not signing off on this entire document, and they will look at it and they will try to make changes. They will work with the Democrats to come up with some compromise on where the money should go. The major rub right now is that the Republicans are very concerned that the governor has taken money away from the retirement fund for Michigan teachers in order to pay for some of these programs. The governor says this is a sound fiscal policy. The Republicans respectfully and in some cases disrespectfully disagree. And so what we have here, Jorma, is the traditional dance over the budget. They try to get this stuff done by June, and we're just starting the games. The governor says, here's what you should do, and the lawmakers will say, here's what we will do.
Right. Well, you recently took a look at the paychecks for employees at the higher level of state government. What did you find that may surprise most people?
Well, you would assume incorrectly that the governor, being the chief executive of the state government and the executive branch, would be making more money than everybody else. Well, not true. Wow. According to the Mirror's newsletter, folks, they basically said, you know what, there's 262 other people in state government making more money than the sitting governor. She drags down $159,000 a year. The highest paid people are over in the Investment Bureau in the Department of Treasury. Their job is to take tax dollars and retirement dollars from retirees and invest it in the stock market and make a lot of money. And while they're doing that, they're making a lot of money as well. Their salary, $535,000 plus some loose change a year. Not a bad gig.
Yeah, all this time I wanted to be a TV news anchor. Instead, I needed to get into the Treasury Department.
Absolutely, but you're very close to that number, I hear.
Oh, yeah. Times about 100 on my, maybe 200 times.
There you go.
That's hilarious. All right, always good to see and get an update from you, Tim. We appreciate it.
And Jorma, Tim, thank you both. All right, still ahead, we're going to move from Michigan to Washington, where in a strange turn of events, Republicans asked for reform, got what they wanted, then rejected the plan. We'll tell you what the Senate is doing in the aftermath to get aid to international partners when we return. Welcome back. Lawmakers are making a desperate push to pass an international aid package after a previous deal collapsed. On Thursday, the Senate voted to move forward with the bill to send aid to Ukraine and Israel. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Hannah Brandt explains how it happened.
Senate Democrats are determined to resuscitate a bill to send help to our international allies.
We are going to keep working on this bill until the job is done.
After months of negotiations, Senate Republicans killed a package that combined immigration reform with aid to Israel and Ukraine. Now, senators are trying to pass legislation with just the international aid.
It's a slimmed-down version that would still do a tremendous amount of good.
Senator Tim Kaine was one of 67 senators who voted to move forward with the new bill to give $95 billion in aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. And Senator Patty Murray says the stakes couldn't be higher.
Our allies are at war. Civilians are in harm's way. Dictators are watching closely to see what we are going to do about it.
Lawmakers are facing pressure to quickly get more help to Ukraine as they run out of weapons and ammunition.
If we don't stand by Ukraine, Vladimir Putin will win.
Senator Mark Warner warns there will be dangerous consequences if the U.S. abandons Ukraine.
It's not good for America. It's not good for stability around the world.
It's still not clear if the bill will be able to pass in the Senate. And if it does, Senator John Cornyn says it'll be tough for Speaker Mike Johnson to get enough conservative Republican support to pass it in the House.
He's got a heavy lift, but that doesn't change the fact we have a job to do here.
Supporters of the bill say Congress has to act soon.
We frankly do not have a minute to waste.
In Washington, I'm Hannah Brandt.
The Rundown caught up with Democratic Congresswoman and candidate for Senate Elissa Slotkin, and here's what she had to say about the border bill and Republican infighting over what to do about it.
I mean, we were really happy to see, Democrats and Republicans doing what they should be doing, negotiating a compromise on an issue that everyone agrees is a formative issue of national security. We're parsing through it. I think it's really important both on substance but also on process. It makes sure that if you're going to be in this country, then you have, you're legal, vetted, you have the ability to work here, pay Social Security, pay into Medicare, and if not, you're going to be deported. So I think it's not perfect, but that's an important step forward. On process, it's honestly absurd to me that my colleagues in the House were screaming that this was the #1 crisis in America and now have completely reversed themselves and are saying we can't vote on any bill having to do with the border until after the 2024 election. And to me, with a national security background, you can't in the same breath say something's of desperate national security importance and then refuse to do something about it. That's dereliction of duty. So I hope my colleagues hear that and actually do something to help deal with this most American problem, right? Immigration is an American issue.
The House of Representatives did manage to pass something this past week. It's called the Enhancing Detection of Human Trafficking Act, and one of its sponsors is Michigan Congressman Tim Walberg. The bill, which passed unanimously, requires the Department of Labor to train its staff so they can detect cases of human trafficking, let them know what they're supposed to do if they come across a suspected case of trafficking, and report back to Congress on their efforts. The bill now goes to the Senate. Well, coming up, we sit down with yet another candidate for Michigan's soon-to-be open Senate seat, and on one big issue, he does not toe the party line. That and much more still ahead on the Capitol Rundown. Welcome back. It's not just Michigan's electoral votes that are up for grabs in November. We're going to be picking a new senator to fill the shoes of Debbie Stabenow. The Democrat is retiring after almost a quarter of a century representing the Great Lakes state in the Senate. Anchor Jorma Duran talked to another Democrat, Nasser Beydoun, about why he wants to fill her shoes.
Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thank you.
So let me get to know you a little bit. What is your expertise?
My background, I'm a business owner. I'm a small business owner in Detroit. I own restaurants, service stations, some other, and I'm a real estate developer.
Okay.
And I'm a civil rights advocate, community activist. I've been around, the Metro Detroit area for a long time.
But not a politician. So you're running for a U.S. Senate seat. You didn't try to go for a city council or a mayor. You went right up to the top. Tell me why.
Thank God. Because I was sick and tired of the politics in Washington. I was sick and tired of the divisiveness, and I was, and watching these people just take our country down a road that's not going to lead us anywhere. So I figured that, I'm going to have a voice. I get to run and say what I want and how I feel, and see if the voters of Michigan, feel the same way I do, if they're as frustrated as I am at the status quo in Washington.
What do you want then? What are some of your top priorities then?
My top priority would be, one, to get the money out of politics, because our Congress right now is corrupt. And money influences them, and they've neglected the people and focused on, special interest, corporate interest, the pro-Israel lobby. Two, stop the endless wars and shipping our hard-earned tax dollars overseas and reinvest in America's future, rebuild our education system, rebuild our infrastructure. We spent trillions of dollars on war, and we've gained nothing from it, except dead brave soldiers and thousands of soldiers who came back, and trillions of dollars that just went to, build, the military-industrial complex. So it's time that we pare down our military, focus on America, and rebuild our manufacturing base, and rebuild our middle class, and support small business, and rebuild our education. And that's why I'm going to Washington, because, in my campaign, I refuse to take any corporate money or PAC money. I am asking only for individual donors from across the country to support me. I figure that the big donors are buying these politicians, so I'm asking the American people, buy me so I can represent you.
Well, coming up on the Rundown, more from our interview with Nasser Beydoun, and let's just say he does not pull punches about the man at the top of the Democratic ticket. Stay tuned. The Capitol Rundown will be right back. We are back now to continue our conversation with Democratic Senate candidate Nasser Beydoun. And normally Senate candidates support the person running at the top of the ticket, but as you'll hear, Beydoun has some thoughts about the incumbent, President Joe Biden.
It's been reported that you will not support President Biden's re-election bid. Tell us why, if that's true.
Well, I cannot support a president that is funding a genocide, complicit in a genocide. We've asked President Biden from day one to try and put an end to Israel's bombing of Gaza and killing of innocent civilians. Though we understand, his statement is Israel has a right to defend himself. Well, the Palestinians also have a right to defend themselves. And if the president chooses to continue to support Israel's attack on Gaza, which has killed over 30,000 men, women, and children, innocent men, women, and children, and caused 60,000 injured and, destruction of most of Gaza, with our weapons and our money, that is not a president I can support.
I'm assuming, though, you're not going to vote for Donald Trump, or you just may not vote.
Well, we're encouraging people to vote, and then they can choose who they're going to vote for at the top of the ticket. You know, my thing is, every single poll is showing that Joe Biden cannot beat Donald Trump. So what we're saying to the Democratic Party, if you want to maintain a Democratic president, find an alternative, because we don't believe that Joe Biden has the capacity at 82 years old to take on Donald Trump and beat him. And he's already, he's lost the progressives. He's lost, the Arab American. He's lost the Muslim vote. He's lost a lot of people that supported him last time. And Michigan is critical, because if you don't win Michigan in this election, you're not going to become president. And so Trump won it one time, Biden won it another time. And now with people feeling the way they do about Joe Biden, I think the Democrats should look for a stronger candidate to go up against Donald Trump.
Well, coming up, a decade ago, tax breaks led to the filming of one of the Transformers movies here in Michigan. But could new breaks help transform Michigan's economy? That debate when the Capitol Rundown returns. Welcome back. A little more than a decade ago, Hollywood came to Michigan.
I think we just found a transformer.
Lured by huge tax breaks, movies like Transformers: Age of Extinction filmed in Detroit, and stars like Hugh Jackman and Robert De Niro made movies in mid-Michigan. Those breaks ended in 2015, but this past week the Michigan Film Industry Association asked lawmakers to bring it back. The reworked bills now include commercials, TV shows, corporate videos, advertising, as well as films, and the tax breaks would grow if a company uses local labor. But Michigan should not get ready for its close-up just yet. Skeptics say tax breaks should not take precedence over schools, infrastructure, and affordable housing. But we will keep you posted. And there is a quick and easy way to stay posted. You can sign up for our Capitol Rundown newsletter. It's just one email each week, and you can get it by pointing your cell phone camera right there at the screen right now. This will take you to the sign up page, or you can head to WLNS.com/newsletter. And that's our show for this week. Thanks for watching.